So a bit about me. I've been doing, I guess, sysadmin stuff for the last 13 years, I think. Started off my career in a software company, was a junior sysadmin guy. Ended up learning lots of stuff through consultants. Got all the way up to managing a few teams. So I ended up actually managing a DevOps team. I know it wasn't really a job title, but it was a big company, and what they decided to do was create a team to solve it. So I went into quite a few projects, probably ran about 5 or 6 projects for different types of software, mostly sort of releasing online products. But then left that. I wasn't really sure that I was making much of an impact because they kept moving me on. So I left that place, joined Alfresco, took their cloud product from really nothing, no users, all the way through to the end where we had tens of thousands of people online and released it. Got kind of bored of doing that and joined Data Loop with David and Colin. So again, getting smaller and smaller. I guess I like computers doing my work for me. I don't scale very well, so if I can write a script, I'll let that do it for me. I like Python. Obviously like beer. I like sysadmins, so I've obviously grown up around them. Kind of got a kinship. And I hate curly braces. Yeah, I know. So I prefer to look at Python code than I would at Ruby or any of the other languages. I don't like people who don't adhere to PEP 8, and I don't like being cold. So I thought I'd, given the fact that this is a talk on the goal of DevOps, I thought I'd go into a little bit what I think DevOps is, because there's quite a few definitions. So I think it kind of fits in at the end. So you've got lean startup doing a lot of the validation of ideas. There's no point writing any software if you haven't validated it. You're not writing the right thing. You might as well just not bother writing it in the first place. So write some useful software. Lean startup helps you do that piece. Once you've got the right idea, once you know people are going to buy it, obviously you do the whole agile software development stuff to try to build it quickly of a good quality. There's no point building lots of cool software that people want if you can't release it. So I guess DevOps kind of picks up where agile development leads off. So I guess DevOps is made up of a few different bits. Actually, I stole this slide from ThoughtWorks about 5 years ago. They had exactly this slide. I couldn't find it anywhere online, so I had to make it myself. But really, what I think DevOps is comprised of is tools, process, and culture. So you hear a lot online about DevOps. You see a lot of I guess, blogs about Puppet and Chef, Ansible, all of these different tools. And yeah, I mean, you can implement all of that stuff. You can automate everything, and you're still not really doing DevOps because you're not talking to development. You're not really helping people release software quickly. So the other bits are equally important. So if you're in an operations team and you're not doing Agile, Scrum, Kanban, or anything like that, you're probably doing it wrong. If you've got a project and you've got a project manager and they've written you a massively long spreadsheet of what you're supposed to be doing this year, that's it's probably going to be out of date in a few weeks because development move on and do different things. And again, the culture. So it's quite important to have no blame. It's quite important to just want to help people. Drop what you're doing if you can see somebody else has got pain. So if you're ahead in terms of automation in your group and you see that QA can't quite get their scripts working properly, help them out. Get in there, automate their stuff, make their stuff a lot faster, and hopefully you'll speed up the entire process. So David really wanted me to put a pyramid in the slides. I didn't want to do it, but he's like, do a talk on DevOps and make sure it's got the pyramid. So this is the pyramid that he wanted. It kind of fits in with the circles. So if you've got the tools, the process, and the culture, as a DevOps team, there's no point doing the stuff on top unless you've got good backups, disaster recovery. You could have the fastest release process in the world, but if you can't look after your customer data and your business is going to go offline because you've lost it, there's no point. So the other levels are security. That's kind of a foundation. Make sure you're not going to lose customer data, and on top of that, obviously make sure that your app is fast and reliable, that you've got good customer stuff. And then obviously where we fit in as Data Loop, we do the monitoring bit. So we obviously make sure that you can tell when your system's broken. And on top of that, the culture, the learning, the trust, and the autonomy. So I've seen a lot of blogs on the goals of DevOps. Everybody seems to have an idea on what it is and why you're doing it. And you see all the time, all the blogs kind of mention these things. So they say, we're doing DevOps because we want to reduce risk. We want to get faster time to market. We want to get increased agility, putting control back and increased efficiencies. They're all benefits of doing DevOps, but they're not why you do it. Well, I don't think that's why you do it. That's from my slide actually about 5 years ago when I was trying to sell DevOps into a large enterprise. I said, these are the reasons why we want to do it. And they were like, okay, cool. But can you put any numbers behind them? So no. This is just why we want to do it. This is the goal. And to be honest, that's not the goal. I don't think that is anyway. So I think the goal is to make some money. This is my own personal take anyway. But every company, that's not a non-profit, they want to do three things. I'm in a startup now. We're trying to do these three things. We want to increase net profit. We want to increase return on investment. If we put a little bit of money in, we want to get a big bit of money out. We don't want to put a big bit of money in to get a little bit of money out. And obviously, we want to increase cash flow. So if the goal of the business is to make a ton of money, then really DevOps, that's their goal as well. And you do that by doing lots of things. So I read a lot of books around how they do automation in factories, which I know is a bit boring, but they've got this really cool I guess ideology around how you manage a confined number of resources in order to increase throughput. So obviously, if you want to get from an idea to that idea in the hands of a customer as quickly as possible, that's all about managing your resources and trying to make the best of them. And that's what DevOps gives you, and that's what Agile gives you. So the first thing that you always do in most companies is you've got to try and identify bottlenecks. So often, the release process is a bottleneck. You've got automated tests that are taking 3 days. You've got a build system that might take you a day to do a build. By the time you do release it, you've got various bits that stop you doing it, and you might change a line of code, and that line of code might then take you 2 weeks to get into production. That's your constraint. That's the fastest at which you can release to production, which isn't good. So you've got to kind of try and mitigate that, eliminate it where you can. So you can eliminate a lot of bottlenecks by putting automation in. You can obviously mitigate a lot of those by putting automation in, and then putting self-service on top of the automation and letting other teams control it. So we did that a lot at Alfresco. We not only automated and did push-button deploys, but we also built portals that gave developers the ability to press buttons, select configuration versions, select releases of code, press buttons, and it would automate it to Amazon, set up the whole thing, and then obviously QA would come along and press other buttons. So you still need some humans, but try to reduce them as much as possible. And then where you do have constraints, where there are things that you can't eliminate or remove, obviously those things you need to kind of bring to the front of the chain and manage the rest of your process with those as the bottleneck. Because, so I guess that kind of necessitates the need to work as part of an entire team. So not just within your operations or your development team, because you're very sort of narrowly siloed. You need to understand the whole bit, the whole from the idea to the end. So yeah, so I put the Autobots as the ops, obviously, and the Decepticons as the devs, but just because of my background. But obviously, for an operations team, my advice would be obviously automate everything that you can. There's no fear around this. If you're doing something every day, put it in a script or write some code. If you can't write some code, get on Code Academy. There's no excuse. Put some self-service tools around any touch points. So if anybody's ever come to your desk asking for you something, work out, can I make a web app? And mean that they never talk to me. You should be going to talk to them, but they shouldn't be coming nagging you. There are tools that you can reduce them relying on you and you slowing them down. So also, obviously, embed yourself in development sprints. So if you're an ops person, you should be attending all their meetings. You should be discovering what they're doing. You know, you should be getting involved in the decision making around technology, all that sort of stuff, because it affects you. You've got to run the service. Obviously monitor everything, but I'm going to say that. I'm in a monitoring company. Obviously, and I mean the main bit is when you're arguing, which you do sometimes, just remember that your goal is actually to make the entire company money. You know, and that fits beyond, you know, the scope of, you know, tiny little petty things. If you're not the constraint, don't worry about it. Help somebody else, they're the constraint. So, obviously as a dev, I've seen this a lot. So developers love the product. They love to build excellent software, but that's sometimes where it's left off. You know, it works fine on my laptop. I've built an amazing piece of software, but really the important thing is, as a web company, is building software that people want to use. And there's no point building a theoretical masterpiece if when you put it into production it falls over every 5 minutes and people get annoyed and then there are no logs, you can't debug it, you know, all that rubbish. So what's more important than your features being done is the service. Again, the other bit that I see is building inventories of unreleased code. So yeah, I mean, as a developer, you can go off and that's your job. You know, you make the feature. But if you're building up massive amounts of unreleased code, what's the point? I mean, you're just like building up inventory. You know, if I was in charge of a dev team and an ops team, I'd get the dev team to stop working on features and get them working on helping ops, do the non-functional stuff. Again, you've got a constraint. Your release process is the constraint. That's the bottleneck. So look to mitigate that and try and get software to market quickly. Obviously, a feature isn't done until it's been working in production forever, as far as I'm concerned. So if I've got a problem with that feature, you're going to come back to it. You're going to work on it. You're going to fix it, and then we're going to move on to the next bit. But until that's fixed, you know, there's no moving on. And yeah, again, you've got the same goal actually. Your goal is to make the company more money. So that helps align both teams, hopefully. So yeah, there's the summary basically. See, so this is the entire process in one rainbow.